Well, if you're heading across the country on Saturday, here's a look at what to expect. A bit of a pattern reversal, unsettled in the east and calm in the west. We haven't seen that in a while. That does translate down to the Pacific Northwest of the U.S., Seattle at 28 and sunshine. But for the Northeast, we are dealing with the risk of thunderstorms anywhere from the Midwest up towards Boston. We are getting into some rain as well. Now, here's where we all want to be. The Caribbean, temperature-wise, will be in the low 30s, but we could see some afternoon thunderstorms. Safe travels. Yeah, lightning is always one of the most dangerous aspects of a thunderstorm, even when we're talking about non-severe thunderstorms. I'm Michelle Mackey. Let's get into your weekend forecast. We have an area of low pressure bringing some beneficial rain to southern Ontario, but also the risk of some thunderstorms. We have that subtropical moisture, that high humidity in place, so we could see some locally heavy downpours in these thunderstorms. By the end of the weekend, high pressure moves in. It's a fairly weak area of high pressure, so by Tuesday we're expecting some more rain. But before we get there, here's a look at the rainfall. The heaviest amounts relegated to areas east of Georgian Bay towards eastern Ontario, southern Quebec, and that's where we have some special weather statements in place, stateside some flash flood watches in association with the same system. So here's a look at the thunderstorm risk. It is fairly widespread. The isolated severe cells should be relegated up towards eastern Ontario and southwestern Ontario. And I do want you to tune back into the Weather Network on Saturday afternoon because we'll have our storm hunters out in the field bringing you all the latest. A brief wave of moisture is expected through the Maritimes through the overnight, clearing for most of the day Saturday, but then Saturday overnight through Sunday, we are expecting some pretty steady rain. Good news for Newfoundland, a great forecast for you. Right now, your locals. While we are currently dealing with a moderate to severe drought for parts of southern Ontario, but some beneficial rain on deck, also some thunderstorms. I'm Michelle Mackey. Let's break down your weekend weather story beginning in southern Ontario. Here's a look at the thunderstorm risk Saturday. Fairly widespread. The rain also going to be widespread, but I want to direct your attention to parts of eastern Ontario into southern Quebec. That's where we could locally see up to 70 millimeters of rain due to the track of this low, where we've seen some off the roads. We always say here at the Weather Network, turn around, don't drown, because often when you're driving, it is really hard to see how deep that water actually is. In the wake of the cold front that's triggering the active weather in southern Ontario, the temperatures are going to cool somewhat into Sunday. Still above seasonal, but not as uncomfortable. We're expecting a wave of moisture through the overnight in the Maritimes, clearing for most of the day on Saturday. But then into Saturday night, a warm front is going to bring some rain, and it's going to stick around for Sunday. We can expect between about 10 to 15 millimeters widespread. But for Newfoundland, a pretty great weekend for you. And that's because you're north of the jet, but also because you're north of the jet, your temperatures are going to be slightly below seasonal. Through the overnight, the risk is still there for some non-severe thunderstorms in through Saskatchewan thanks to a trough of low pressure. But it's that surface low that's been bringing us the active weather, including for Dryden, where we just saw that dramatic imagery. High pressure is the big story for BC, not just for the weekend, but over the coming week as well. Your temperatures above seasonal, lots of sunshine, and eventually that ridge is going to shift east across the prairies. So that is going to bring your temperatures up and also some fair weather for this weekend. But let's bring you back to eastern Canada as we move into next week. We are still dealing with the risk of some moisture Monday into Tuesday for southern Ontario as a boundary just tries to skirt its way up. Temperature-wise, by Wednesday, we're watching for another ridge of high pressure to build in, so we'll see those above seasonal temperatures return. Right now, we have your local weather story. Wow, I can't even imagine how hot that would have been. The heat continues for southern Ontario, and so too does the threat of active weather. I'm Michelle Mackey. Welcome to the weekend. Let's get right into it. We have an area of low pressure moving through the Great Lakes Basin Saturday. The cold front associated likely to fire up some thunderstorms into the afternoon, evening hours. We have a weak area of high pressure that moves in for Sunday. It sticks around for the start of the week, but this boundary to the south trying to skirt its way up to bring us more rain Monday into Tuesday. But we really can't complain. We need the rain. We're currently in a severe to moderate drought in southern Ontario. Here's a look at how much rain we can expect. The heaviest from east of Georgian Bay towards southern Quebec. Special weather statements are in place for local amounts up to 70 millimeters. For southern Ontario, we have a base of about 20 millimeters widespread. locally heavier in thunderstorms. And here's a look at the risk area. The dynamics are there for isolated severe thunderstorms for eastern Ontario and southwestern Ontario. So that is where we could be dealing with some rotating storms that could be capable of producing hail and some very gusty winds. Atlantic Canada, a great Saturday, but into Saturday night, a warm front will push into the Maritimes, bringing rain that sticks around through Sunday. But for Newfoundland, below seasonal and sunshine, that is your story for the weekend. Okay, we're going to get to your long-range forecast in just over a minute's time. I'm Michelle Mackey, but a quick update on what's happening this weekend. An area of low pressure bringing rain and thunderstorms from southern Ontario into the Maritimes this weekend. High pressure in its wake by the end of the weekend, but it is not a strong area of high pressure, so we're not going to be totally clear. We do have the risk of more showers on Tuesday, but here's what we can expect before then. A wide swath of about 20 millimeters through southern Ontario, locally heavier in thunderstorms. From Parry Sound to the eastern townships of Quebec, that is where we're watching for a wide swath of up to 70 millimeters. A special weather statement is in place for the region. That's where we have the warm front moving through. But let's take a look at the thunderstorm risk. It is widespread. Not everyone going to see thunderstorms, certainly going to see rain, but where we're more likely to see stronger thunderstorms, that's in southwestern Ontario. There's more instability in the atmosphere. A clear day for the Maritimes and Newfoundland, but into the overnight Saturday, that warm front is going to push into the Maritimes, bringing rain that sticks around through Sunday. But for Newfoundland, cool but clear. That's your temperature trend and weather story for the weekend. Right now, the Long Ranger.